With the team sitting mid-table in the Championship, sacking their manager recently, and losing 4 games on the bounce in the league, it's a pretty tough time to be a Sunderland fan. But we're going to try and change that, giving ourselves 5 seasons as manager of the historic club to try and take them back into the Premier League and challenge in Europe. Now, Sunderland finished in the playoffs last year, and they do have a pretty good squad with lots of good young talent. Our best player, according to the game, is Jack Clark, who can play on the left or the right. He's not quite Jude Bellingham, but Joe Bellingham is tearing it up at the minute for Sunderland. And Dan Neil is a fantastic midfield option wanted by a host of Premier League clubs in this save. And it's good that we've got those young players, because today we're only going to sign people under the age of 23. Now, in our first season, the board do want us to get into the Championship playoffs, so we have got pretty lofty ambitions. And that could be achievable, because as well as our great squad, we've got £7 million of transfer budget and £15,000 in the wages. And as mentioned, we do have a very young squad. These are all of our players sorted by ability in order, and you can see it takes quite a while before we get to anyone of a significant age, and that's only 26-year-old Patrick Roberts. We've got great facilities and a huge stadium, so we've got the foundation set for success, and with a massive fan base with plenty of history, we're going to have to deliver that success pretty soon, else we might end up getting sacked as well. First though, as mentioned, we've got a little bit of budget to spend, so let's see who we can bring in our first transfer window. Before we do see the transfers for Season 1 though, it would be a huge help to me if you could scroll down and hit the like button. It's free to do, you can forget you ever did it, but it really does help me out on the videos in terms of promoting them on YouTube. And if you enjoy this content, make sure you're subscribed as well. We do weekly rebuild videos here, and a big portion of you, I'll try and show it on screen, aren't currently subscribed but are watching. And if just a few of you guys hit that subscribe button, we would see our subscriber numbers massively increase. So thank you to anyone who does that. Make sure you comment down below what rebuild you want to see next. And the final thing is, if you want to get access to these save files, you can go over to Patreon, linked in the description of this video. You can support me as a creator, and in return you'll get access to all of the save files from Season 1 through to 5, so you can take over and give this rebuild a go yourself. And to be honest, we didn't really do much business in our first window here. We have a pretty balanced squad, and we didn't really sell anyone, so we only had room really for 1 or 2 incomings, and I decided to spend the money on Yota Komi, who's a Japanese 21-year-old player. Remember, we can only sign players under or of the age of 23. He is a left-sided winger who can also play as a striker, costing us 2.3 million, rising to 2.6 from the Japanese divisions. I don't know whether he's going to work out, I know nothing about him, but the scouts recommended him highly, so fingers crossed he'll do a good job for us in our team. And going into our first season, here is what is considered our best 11. We'll run through the players so you get a quick idea of who they are, and just to let you know, we're playing currently a 4-3-3 gegenpress system. I felt that suited the players that we had quite nicely, but our best goalkeeper is 23-year-old Anthony Patterson. We also have Northern Irish right back Try Hume, who's a very promising player. At the back we have Daniel Ballard, who's a 23-year-old Northern Ireland international. Luke O'Neill alongside him at the age of 28. He's one of the more experienced members of this team. Dennis Serkin at left back, the Irish international. In midfield we've got Neil and Bellingham, who you've met, but also Pierre Ekwa, formerly of Chelsea. As well, we've got Patrick Roberts on the right, Jack Clark on the left, and then up front, our best striker is supposedly Nazaraj Rusian. Now, I don't know much about Sunderland in real life, if this is the guy that often plays up front, but I do feel like we're probably lacking some options in that forward area. Our best striker outside of him is going to be Joe Bellingham, and then we've got Komi, who we've recently brought in, so that might be a position that we want to improve long term. Whilst doing those transfers though, the season did start off well with a win against Ipswich, a win in the Cup against Accrington, and then a draw away to Preston. So it's been a pretty good start, but we obviously want to try and get promoted as soon as possible. After this season, we can really get stuck in with our own transfers, but for now, this is a team that we've been left with, and hopefully they can take us to the Premier League. And it was a pretty good first season. Norwich and Southampton took the 2 automatic promotion spots, and then the playoff teams were only separated by 2 points. There was us, Leicester City, Sheffield Wednesday and Bristol City. Now we finished in 3rd place, a pretty big distance away from the 2 automatic promoted teams, but it did mean we faced off against Bristol City in 6th place in the first playoff match where Joe Bellingham got us off to a flyer after 10 minutes. 54 minutes on the clock in the first leg and we ran down the right hand side with Huggins going into the middle, finding Ekwa who finished brilliantly into the corner of the net. And then in the 66th minute there was a great corner in, we managed to win the second ball and the ball fell to Clark who hit a great volley and put us 3-0 up in the first leg. Now that sent us to a playoff final where we were facing off against Leicester City. Tough opposition in a very tough game. Now of course this was going to be a tough match, but it was made even harder in the 26th minute where one of our most experienced players, Luke O'Neill, came in for this tackle here and ended up getting sent off very early on in the playoff final. And obviously after that point it was a real struggle. Patson Daka went through in the 35th minute, found Fatawu who curled it into the corner to put Leicester 1-0 up, and things didn't really look very promising from there. Only a few minutes later Leicester got their tails up, this ball to Rodgers found Dewsbury Hall on the edge of the box, back to Rodgers who managed to finish into the top corner to put Leicester 2-0 up. Now at this point 2-0 down to one of the best sides in the Championship with 10 men, it was a pretty impossible task to get anything out of the game. But in the 70th minute we managed to run down the left hand side of the pitch, we found Bar through the middle who made his way into the box, found our Ukrainian striker Rusin who pulled us a goal back. And then in the 83rd minute we once more made our way down the left hand side, clearly sensing some Leicester weakness, and a ball into the middle of the area found Comey who despite a poor season scored, and that meant it was 2-2 and we headed to a penalty shootout. And after a sudden death clash, Abdullah Bar had the chance to send us to the Premier League, he blasted it through and that meant we were heading to the Prem after being down to 10 men in the playoff final. Just to show you how tight it was in the league this year, 3 teams finished on 87 points and the other playoff side Bristol City were only 2 points behind on 85, so it was a very tight league. We did deserve the 3rd place spot though, and it did lead to us eventually going up to the Premier League, which is an awesome start. With the team we had, I didn't think it would be the hardest job to get promoted, but to do it in season 1 is really good to see. Jack Clark got 23 goals, Dan Neil was great as well, as was Ekwa. Rusin managed to bag 28 goals this season, so clearly me thinking he wasn't a very good striker was a wrong judgment of him. Joe Bellingham as well having a nice season, and overall it was a great team effort with goals from all over the pitch. And now this is where the fun starts. We're heading to the Prem, we've got 4 seasons to try and either win it or get European football, and our first year there is going to start with a £35 million transfer budget, and we're going to need it to try and revolutionise this team. To add to our budget, we sold on a few players. One was our choice, Romain Mundell, leaving to Huddersfield for £500,000. He did not play at all last year, so to get any money for him was a pretty decent bit of business. And then unfortunately, against our will, we lost one of our better players. Hume wanted to leave to join a club with a better squad, so he's decided to go to Burnley. They're in the Premier League with us. It was a £17 million fee, rising to £20 million, so he got some good cash out of it, but it is a shame to lose such a good player. But fear not, we did spend the money and we have definitely improved our team. We've got a backup left back now, Josh Wilson-Esperan, joining from Manchester City for a very small fee of £1 million. He was decent out on loan at Cardiff last year, not expecting much from him, but for that fee, it's not bad for a backup left back. Continuing our theme of signing young players, we've picked up Carlos Gomez, a Colombian international with 2 appearances and 2 goals for the national team, who joins us from Real Salt Lake in the MLS, where he's been a pretty decent talent, but our scouts recommended him very highly. If you don't know, I don't use my own knowledge in these videos, I only sign players that our scouts recommend. We have some competition up front now. We did have a Ukrainian striker, now we've gone back to Ukraine to sign a new player. This is £15 million forward Lassina Traore, who was pretty good last year in the Ukrainian top flight, a strong player who's pretty quick too and a good finisher. I think he'll hopefully take very nicely to the Premier League. And our final and most expensive signing of the summer is Jarrell Quansah, who's been playing at the back for Liverpool this season in real life. In game, he doesn't look amazing, but he's definitely had a boost in the winter update by the looks of it. A very good ball-playing defender with a lot of potential, fits right in at this level with Sunderland. £15.75 million was the fee, and fingers crossed he can turn out to be a real leader in our backline. 6'6" as well, so he is very tall. Now, I wouldn't be overly shocked if we did get relegated this year. I just want to put it out there. Usually when I get promoted with teams, I've got a pretty confident bet that we'll manage to stay up, but this is a very young side. There's not many real star quality players in there that could do well in the Prem. Even our best, like Jack Clark, in the Premier League, is he really that kind of level? I don't know, maybe he is, but we've got a pretty strong starting lineup, a lot of depth on the bench as well, so we're going to try and do what we can to stay up here this year. And I don't think I'm being pessimistic either, because the season preview, I was hoping to be a little bit better than this, but we're actually predicted 20th place, 900 to 1 odds of winning the title. Norwich also expected to go down alongside Burnley. Meanwhile, promoted Southampton look pretty comfortable, predicted in that 16th spot. We're hoping we can drag them into a relegation battle though. We're going to have to try and stay up this year if we want to get this rebuild off to the best start possible. And as predicted, we were dragged into a relegation battle. Surprisingly, it was Brighton and Burnley, not the newly promoted teams, who took up the 20th and 19th place spots, but the last relegation spot was between us and Fulham with only a few games left of the league season. Now, we were in terrible form and needed a result at Craven Cottage to almost guarantee safety, and early on we had a great opportunity through Lassina Traore, a brilliant darting run through the defence to put us 1-0 up. Sirkin played a corner in, the ball came out and we managed to recycle, found Gomez, one of our other new signings, to help us go 2-0 up. And then in the 68th minute, Ekwa carried the ball forward brilliantly, as he often does, got to the byline and pulled it back for a second goal from Traore, or was it an own goal from Diop? No matter how the goal went in, it did not matter because it did mean we beat Fulham, and as you can see, that was massively important because the league table was super close. As mentioned, Brighton and Burnley, really surprising that they went down so early on with the points total they did. Really, Bournemouth, Southampton, Norwich were quite a distance away from us. Bournemouth may be catchable, but we weren't great at all. Thankfully though, Fulham were a little bit worse, only 1 point worse. You can see our form was pretty poor. We actually got a lot of our points towards the start of the season where we drew to Brighton. We also got a draw at Liverpool, which would have been good to watch, and I'm sure Sunderland fans would have loved a 4-0 win against Newcastle at home. And we definitely had their number because we beat them away from home 3-1. Now, like I say, it was not a great year, but the players that we can thank for us staying up were Patterson in goal. Quansah did well, but only played 6 times all season, 3 of those sub appearances, so clearly he wasn't fancied whilst we were holidaying ahead. Lassina Traore though was very important with 19 goals, and that was about as far as you can take this kind of analysis. He scored, that kept us up, and we really need to build from here. And we will have the ability to do so with £72 million of transfer budget. We've got a lot of money to spend, and it's about time we start refreshing this team. As good as these young players are, we need to move some of them on if we want to make a side capable of staying up and competing in the Premier League. Don't forget, if you are enjoying the video up to this point, to smash the like button for me, but let's see who we bought in Season 3. Or I suppose we should start with who we sold. There wasn't many interesting sales, but Jay Matete has left Sunderland to join TP Mazembe out in Congo. Not really sure, he's gone for a few £100,000. We'll forget about him. Yota Komi got that all-important goal to send us to the Premier League in Season 1, and that was kind of his contribution for this Sunderland team. That was his only goal for the club, it could not have came at a better time, and now he's moved on to the Belgian divisions to Antwerp for pretty much the fee that we paid for him, so not a bad bit of business. And finally, upset with his game time last year, Nazari Rusin has decided to leave the club. He's gone to Italian side Hellas Verona for a slight increase on what we originally paid for him. Was great in the Championship, didn't really translate well to the Premier League, and Lassina Traore clearly took up his goal scoring ability. But we made some great incoming transfers. The first one was a brilliant bit of business, and if Brighton was still in the Prem, I feel like this is the kind of player they would have signed and we wouldn't have been able to. It's Oscar Zambrano. We found him in the Ecuadorian divisions with Liga de Quito. £2.6 million is the fee for a phenomenal talent. Great in a load of areas, really good creatively, can score a goal. This is a Premier League level player through and through. Austria Vienna had this player in their ranks, Matthias Brunoder, and our scouts clearly thought he was good. He's not an international yet for his nation, but I don't think it will be long. He's a very well-rounded midfield option who takes our midfield to another level alongside the Ecuadorian player that we just signed. Again, a very cheap fee, only £3 million for him. So really, we've spent about £5 million and completely leveled up our midfield. We've also added some extra defensive depth with Leonidas Sturgeon coming in as one of our best centre-backs. The 23-year-old has joined us for a fee of £10.75 million from the Swiss division. St. Gallen had a very good player on their hand. It wouldn't have been long before someone bought him. Thankfully, we got in there quickly. Our most expensive transfer of the window was Ivan Freshneda, who is a brilliant coup for us really. goalie. Age 20, we signed him from Sporting Club de Portugal for 17 million. A fantastic player, but wasn't really getting played out in Portugal, only for the B team, so we've managed to steal him away, and he comes in as our best right back with bags, and I mean bags, of potential. And our final signing was Sergei Pinyeyev, who can play on the left or the right hand side, costing us just over 10 million. He's 20 years of age at this point, and he's going to go on to be a big star if he can fulfill the potential that he clearly does have. But even outside of that, he is already one of our best talents. And he, alongside our other signings, all come into our best 11, showing we've definitely improved our team here. Patterson is still our best goalie, with Freshneda at right back. Then we've got Ballard as our best centre-back, alongside Sturgeon. We also have Dennis Serkin, the Irish international, still playing in that left-back spot. Daniel, Zambrano and Bronader make up the midfield, with Gomez, Pinyeyev and Lassina Traore making up the rest of the team. The board only want us to try and stay up. They wouldn't even be bothered if we did get relegated, but thankfully this year, we actually have a prediction of 17th place, 450 to 1 odds of winning the league. We had 900 to 1 odds of winning it last year, so we've half those odds down now. Ipswich, Bournemouth and Southampton are predicted to go down, but if we're not careful, we could get dragged into another relegation battle. Fingers crossed this year, things can go much better for us. And you know what? It definitely was a much better season. We haven't done anything massively spectacular, but I would class this as a huge success, finishing in 11th place, comfortably surviving in the Premier League. 52 points, nearly more wins than we had losses, 15 wins this year. Manchester United, by the way, having a shocking season under their new manager, Graham Potter, so make of that what you will. But yes, we have finished comfortably mid-table, pretty big distance away from the relegated teams. Ipswich only getting 12 points by the end of the year, Leicester on 26, and Forest on 30. Leeds nearly going down with 31 points. That was us last season where we managed to survive. Thankfully this year we're way away from it though, and actually only 5 points away from a European position, maybe even 4 actually, because 9th place Crystal Palace got Europa League. No idea what's happened there. Loads of clubs getting European football. Pretty strange that no conference place has been given out, but I don't fully understand the inner workings of how this gets allocated. Either way though, this is definitely progress, and if we keep pushing, hopefully one day we can be a European team. Now we had some great performers in the team, and interestingly enough, it's 3 players we've had right from the start. Dan Neil is one of the leaders in the team now at age 24. Obviously we can have players over the age of 23, we're just not allowed to sign them when they are older than 23, so we have to look for Wonderkids and then try and sell them on. But Jack Clark has also done really well, and Patterson brilliant in goal too. Lassina Traore getting 17 goals has really helped us. For those interested as well, we've been working on the facilities, improving them massively as time has gone by, particularly focusing in on the development of our youth talent at the club, and we have now got a very strong academy squad, and that bodes well for the future of Sunderland, having these young players coming through. Financially, there's £47 million in the overall balance, not much in the debts and loans, and that has meant the club were willing to give us a huge £111 million transfer budget to spend, 50 grand of wage budget. Thank God these Sunderland owners are nice to us. We've now got a huge bag of money to try and improve this team and make us hopefully a European challenger. And we did lose quite a few notable players this window, so let's run through them. Firstly, Patrick Roberts has left us to go and join Spezia out in Italy. He didn't want to play for us anymore because he wasn't playing, and I can't blame him. £1 million is the fee. He's gone out the door. Nectar Triantis is an Australian centre-back who we've had for a few years and actually played a fair share over this rebuild so far, but now he's moved on to go and join Genoa. The big fees, though, come with these 3 sales. Firstly, Daniel Ballard, the Northern Ireland international. He's joined the Saudi Arabian side, leaving for a fee of £10 million, which isn't too bad for a guy that only played 13 times last season. A quick turnaround in transfer profit, Matthias Brunoda, the Austrian, is now an international at age 24. Clearly this was a great platform for him here at Sunderland, and after 35 appearances and a 6.88 average match rating, he's moved to Al Ahly for £24 million, rising to 31.5, so a great bit of business there, and he's earned himself a major contract. And as always seems to happen in these rebuilds, a Saudi side has came in for our club's goalkeeper. Anthony Patterson, the 26-year-old English player, has moved, and he's gone for a fee of £24.5 million, rising to 27. He's been good for the last few years, but I can't reject that kind of money for a player of his quality. So we made £60 million of sales, and we spent £120 million this summer. We signed Lucas Bergstrom, whose contract expired at Chelsea, to be our backup goalie. And our new goalkeeper is going to be Dennis Simon, who joins us from Stuttgart out in Germany, £16.75 million. million is the fee for a very good young goalkeeper who comes in ready to take up the mantle of our number one. Richard Landazuri is our first new gen signing, who is an 18-year-old Colombian. I don't think we'll see much of him, but we've signed him for 1.6 million. He's someone to just sell on for profit in the future, but being valued at 25 million after just signing him shows we definitely found a gem. Marco Kana is a new signing to play in our deep line playmaker role in the midfield. He's a Belgian international at age 23, 6 foot tall, good tackling, but also a great passer of the ball as well. He's really going to suit that role at the base of our midfield. He has cost us a pretty big fee, 22.5 million from the Belgian leagues, but I feel like he's going to be a great pickup for us. We've also signed Habib Diarra, who is a Senegalese 22-year-old central midfielder, joining us from Strasbourg for a fee of 21.5 million. He's a replacement for the Austrian that we lost to the Saudi leagues, and I think he comes in as a very handy option, great going forward, could score a goal, could create a chance, but also can put in a tackle. 2 more signings to go though. We kept spending. We've got a new centre-back, 20-year-old Bastien Miepiu. I don't know if I pronounced that right, almost certainly I haven't. He joins us from Ligue 1 side Nantes, where he's got progressively better, and after a very good season last time, he's caught the eyes of our scout. We sent £25 million or so to the French club for the 6'4", left-footed, ball-playing defender. And our spending in France continued. We went to Strasbourg once more and bought in this man, Dylan Bakwa, for 35 million. He's a left winger with electric pace, agility, great dribbling ability, first touch, crossing, technique, passing and vision. He's an unreal player. I've never seen him before. All of this rebuild is being recorded after the winter update, by the way, so I imagine that's a big reason that we're seeing a lot of new names that we might not have picked up before. And here is now what is considered our best 11, and it's looking pretty strong actually. Simon is a great goalie. Serking and Neil are the only original members of this Sunderland team that still survive in our best 11. There's plenty of them throughout the squad. I mean, Joe Bellingham is now 20 and looking like a very handy midfielder, and there's a few more that I could go through, but this team is set up to go. In terms of a season prediction, I don't actually know. We are predicted to finish in 15th place, 150 to 1 odds of winning the league now. Things are certainly getting better as time has gone on, and if we keep up this kind of progress, we'll be a European team in no time, but let's see how we can do in our 4th season. And after a very good year in the league, we were actually in contention for a European place, but to get it, we had to win our last few games. One of them, and probably our most important one in the run-in, was against Man U, and in the 55th minute at Old Trafford, Gomez found his way into the box. The former MLS player continues to get better and put us 1-0 up. But in the 70th minute, Man United clearly still have some talented players. Conor Gallagher, of all people, a Chelsea player, managed to get around the right-hand side and blast it past Seaman to make it 1-1. But then we didn't give up, and in the 97th minute of all times, Miepiu managed to get a header onto the ball, and that meant we got the win, and that was massively important for us because we ended up qualifying for European football, and if things weren't good enough, we actually finished above Newcastle by 1 point, managing to get a Europa League spot, not even a Conference League position. Is 7th always a Europa League spot? I don't quite know. In the Cups, we got eliminated quite early, but this is a massive result for our Sunderland team. 20 wins, 13 losses, including home and away against Newcastle, but we don't mind. We have finished above them, and 5 draws. A very good season for us. 65 points, only 5 points away from Arsenal. United having a much better year this time round under Graham Potter. And I think this might be a new record, by the way. I could be wrong, but is this less points than what Derby got in the Premier League? 6 points for Plymouth, minus 93 goal difference, only 1 win all season. Of course it was against us. We could have stopped a team from winning a game, but they happened to beat us away from home. 3 draws as well across the course of the season. Nuno Espirito Santo's Plymouth team are going straight back down. I imagine they didn't have much hope of staying up, but that is maybe the worst performance I've ever seen from a team in FM. But thankfully, our performance was great, and Fresneda was fantastic this year. Zambrano has continued to get better and better in the midfield, and he's now a real leader as well, with 17 leadership at the age of 23. Pierre Ekwa, Lucas Bergstrom all did well when called upon off the bench. Simon was really good throughout the course of the season. This is a youth player, by the way, Chris Rigg, who is a fantastic option in Football Manager, but we really haven't had the time to give him game time because we got promoted so early. Was playing in the Championship, but never really is going to be part of our Prem team, so his growth has been stunted, but has done well when we called upon him. 11 goals for Gomez, 12 goals for Bakwa, 13 from Joe Bellingham, who really stepped up this season. You might notice Lassina Traore only scored 5. I actually think Bakwa was playing most of the games up front, which doesn't strike me as the right thing to do by the assistant, because he's only got 7 finishing. Either way though, it's clearly all worked out for us quite well. We've continued to improve the facilities. Financially, we're looking very good, and for our last season, going into the Europa League, we've got £70 million to spend. Am I going to do a full squad overhaul? Do we just need a few additions to be a good team in Europe? We'll find out. Let's see what kind of business we can do in Season 5. Sales-wise, we've got a few to run through, so let's go through them quickly. Abdullah Bar, who scored that all-important penalty to take us into the Premier League back in the day, he's now moved to Brianza for £7 million in Italy. He's been really good for us as a servant, but just isn't quite at the quality levels anymore, and he wanted to be an important player. We couldn't let him do that here at Sunderland now, so we decided to part ways and get some cash for him. Same goes for Pierre Ekwa, a fantastic player, now 25, and he's been brilliant for us in his time here, but he's played less and less. Now he's moved to the Premier League side Leeds for £5 million, rising to 7, and best of luck to him there. And finally, Ajay Alice, who's been with us since the start, the Nigerian, has moved now to Sassuolo for £3.4 million. He's been a pretty consistent player for us, even if most of the time it was off the bench in recent years. Still though, he's a good servant and it's a shame to lose him. Coming in is only a few transfers though. The first one is a new left back, Andy Harwood, who's actually hurting me how pale he is. He's like as pale as I am with these white lights on me here, but he is a fantastic left back. 18 acceleration, 18 agility, 16 balance, 16 pace, good crossing ability, can tackle as well. He might even be a future England international. Where did we sign him from? FC Copenhagen. No idea what he was doing out there, but that's where he was, 17.5 million for young Andy, and he is going to be one of our best left back options now, I would have thought. Peter Ratkov is a man that we've picked up in the hopes that we'll now have an out-and-out striker, with Lassina Traore not doing as well last year. He's actually gone out on loan now, so Ratkov has came in, 23-year-old Serbian international, joining us from RB Salzburg, where he's been excellent for the last few seasons. 20 million is the fee for a very good physical forward that hopefully will suit the Premier League nicely. And the last signing of this rebuild is going to be Marlon Gomez. The Brazilian 23-year-old wide player is a fantastic talent coming in from Ukrainian side Shakhtar Donetsk. £20.5 million is the fee, and I feel like he is going to be a nice addition, able to play midfield and on the wing. And now with that done, this is our final best 11, where we have some real talent throughout the team. Simon in goal, Fresneda at right back, Sturgeon, Miepiu, Harwood, Kana, Zambrano, Daniel, Gomez, Pinyev, and Bakwa. So clearly he was playing up front last year. The player we signed to be a winger is now considered our best forward, and there's plenty of great players on the bench as well. Going into this last season, the board wanted us to finish mid-table. That's where we're predicted to finish as well. 100 to 1 odds of winning the title. So the team is ready to go. We head into our final season. Remember to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's see how we can do in our time in Europe. Now, we actually did really well in the Europa League, and we ended up getting to the knockout rounds, and after beating Porto and Atletico Madrid, we made it to a Europa League semi-final. It was against Wolfsburg, and after a 0-0 draw at our stadium, we went to Germany knowing we needed to win to make it to the Europa League final, and Joe Bellingham stepped up early on in the 5th minute to head home, doing what his brother does, scoring goals in Europe. Then Harwood pounced on a bad pass from a Wolfsburg player, found Gomez, who headed the ball through to Joe Bellingham, a great touch and a brilliant finish put us 2-0 up after 22 minutes. We then added a third in the 28th minute with Pinyev, a great ball into the middle, wasn't cleared very well. It found Sirkin on the edge of the area. He's been with us since the start, and he made it 3-0 in the Europa League semi. Wolfsburg did then pull a goal back from a corner, but in the 88th minute, 3-1 up, we managed to seal the deal, with Landuzzi playing a ball through to Bakwa, who managed to finish well past Kevin Trapp, and we were going in to a Europa League final. And it was Italian giants Roma that we came up against, managed by Daniele De Rossi, and this brilliant goal from Habib Diarra put us in front in the 25th minute. A fantastic curling shot. Motta, though, managed to score from the spot in the 54th to make it 1-1, and then with 30 minutes to go in a Europa League final, Gomez carried the ball forward, found Habib Diarra again to Bakwa, who's been one of our best players. He tucked it away to make it 2-1, and that was all we needed. We had won a Europa League final. And that was the club's first European trophy they'd ever won, at least according to FM. And that didn't affect us in the league either. Despite finishing 4th, we were only a few points away from the league title, 4 points away in fact. We lost 11 games this season and drew 4. We managed to win 23, and we only had Chelsea, Spurs and eventual winners Man City in front of us, and they won the title by 1 goal difference in the end. Now that would have been a Champions League finish, but winning the Europa League already got us a position in the Champions League in the coming season. But let's have a look at our stars to finish off. Pinyev was brilliant, as was Fresneda, Carlos Gomez as well with 12 goals, Zambrano with 10, Joe Bellingham Bellingham continues to get better, hitting 20 goals this season, often playing as our striker. Bakwa also with 20 goals, and then there was 15 goals as well from Marlon Gomez in his first year in the Premier League. So that was an awesome performance from the whole team. Financially, we're leaving the club with £89 million in the bank, fantastic facilities all around, a fan base that's going to be very happy now, and a great young squad, and a great academy too, to keep pushing this team forward. So there you go, that's the Sunderland rebuild done. We've managed to take them to a Europa League win in 5 years. I think that's a pretty good job. Sunderland fans, let me know down below, and let me know what rebuild you guys want to see next.